Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer. It's Shopping Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Wednesday, September 3rd. Another interesting day on our hands today. I would say themes of the day, clearly Google and Apple were the two big performers for the day, but also just a lot of rotation on the tape. We are in September. We know it's a weak seasonal month, but there was some opportunities today. Look at the Qs. Big move at the end of the day. We're up 80 basis points for today, a little bit under 1%. Outside of that, not much really going on in terms of like what small caps did and the diamonds today. Small caps were essentially flat. Micro caps, which I talked a little bit in yesterday's video, big volume in that ETF yesterday, down about 0.4 of a percentage point, and SPY finished up 0.5% in the middle of those. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything, of course, that I'm going through in this video is for information purposes only. And I think that you can kind of just look in terms of when we get to sectors over here, that there was some decent like dispersion between different groups. TLT, by the way, was up 1.1%. I thought that was a little bit of a catalyst for the day. Again, I talked about sometimes false narratives yesterday, that everybody trying to blame like the volatility yesterday on global bond yields. Well, I heard very, very little about today. Today TLT was up more than it was down yesterday, up 1.1%, and kind of crickets today in terms of that. So again, sometimes you hear these narratives on social media or financial media, and they're completely wrong. Make sure you do your own independent research. Bitcoin was up 1.3% today. Gold chugged along today, but did not finish on the highs of the day. Finished up another 80 basis points today, almost 1%. So let's get into the charts just to kind of look at where we are so far before I do bring up the charts, because I think that there's some interesting levels that I want to look at in terms of the index charts. But so far we're still down for the month. So if you're doing okay so far in the beginning of September, give yourself a small pat on the back. To me, the weaker seasonal months, August, and that includes August too, but really September and October. A lot of trying to hit base hits this month. It's not a swing for the fence months. It's not. This is more trading for me, like point A to point B, and just to kind of be careful about overall risk when you've got when we're in a weaker seasonal environment. Again, doesn't mean that we're going to get a weak. There's no 100% guarantee that we're going to get a weak month. We're just playing with probabilities here. So that said, let's get over to the charts. And I'm going to start, of course, with the SPY chart here. One of the things that I said yesterday was that we started very similar to what we did at the end of July and August. To a lesser extent, probably. This was a big move, big rejection there on July 31st, and we ended up finishing lower for the day, and then big follow-through action to the downside, where we gapped lower and closed almost on the lows of this session. And notice that we kind of a little bit of resemblance here, not the same thing here, but we bounced back. And mainly what I want to go over here is not just like the size of these candles, but we broke below the 20-day moving average, and it was kind of like a beach ball underwater. We came right back up. We're kind of doing that now. Again, take one day at a time here, but we're back. We did reclaim the 20-day moving average today. Now, the moving averages look a little bit different here. They kind of did this nice crunch, the 20 and the 5. So this is, again, it's not exact here. And I'm not trying to say that we're going to do exactly what we did last month. I'm just saying there are some similarities. Okay, so levels to watch: 647.11, which is about a half of percent higher is where we're going to hit resistance. But also, when we look at this 1-hour chart, which I think is important to look at, and I'm just going to look at the 1-hour value area here too. We broke in to the value. This is where we started, of course. Yesterday we broke lower and we recovered, but we're having a difficult time with the bottom of the value area for this week. That's perfectly normal, right? We come all the way up here and we're going to do some type of a pause. We're going to get some fake moves in here. Really what I would watch is this 642.30. That's now the support level. This what was resistance is now support. And then of course, the 646.25, as well as the other level that I mentioned for you on the daily chart. Qs, let's just start with the same exercise here. Qs look a little bit different, right? Everybody, including myself, saying head and shoulders, could be head and shoulders, right? Left shoulder, head, right? Come on, we got to laugh about some of these things a little bit when everybody looks at these things and says the same thing. Break down to the 50-day moving average and kind of the same thing. Pretty decent buoyancy for now. Now, the thing is that we're going to have to watch is whether or not this is going to be rejected in here and we start drifting lower, or if we're going to power through. We're kind of right at this this trend line that I drew, which is kind of a neckline. You got to do one of these with the neckline. You got to tilt your neck to say, okay, that's where the neckline would be. That's where at least I have it drawn on my charts. You could draw it differently than me, but that's the way I see it. And then very simply, just like we talked about with the SPY chart, watch this bottom of the value area. And I was starting to make the conclusion that, hey, we've come up to this and then we kind of got it rejected. We were falling down here a little bit, but that last hour of the day, big buying going on. I think the MOC was about $4 billion to the buy side. I don't know who's doing that. It's very interesting. We heard the other day, and I tweeted this out, that CTAs are like have max exposure. And it's a reminder too that there are a whole bunch of different participants in the marketplace. There's hedge funds. There are those CTAs and model driven. There's retail investors. There's long only funds. There's pension funds. So whenever you see one of these data points that say, hey, this group is maxed out, short, long, somewhere in between, just realize that there's many other market participants. Now, the thing to remember with the CTAs, that that they could drive flows a little bit, and just to remember, just to keep in mind there that that if we do start to break lower, probably those CTAs are going to have to start unwinding some of that long position. Lastly, in terms of the index review, which again I'm going over because I think that we're at interesting areas right now, is IWM. Now IWM has kind of switched from the underperformer to for the most part for most of 2025 now to the outperformer. So we're still hanging around this virgin point of control. That's the blue line here. VPOC, just like we did last time, right? We took this out last time all the way back towards the beginning of July, and we hung around this. We tried to go higher, we got rejected. We got a big rejection, tested back to the 200-day moving average. Buyers came in. We come out and take out this next VPOC up here. And we try to go higher a little bit. That didn't happen. And we're kind of just hovering around here. So that's something to keep in mind. That's right around 234. And of course, the top of the value area for the month, which is 231.40. If you want to go more granular than that, we can look at the 1 hour chart too and say, watch this bottom of the value area for the week. That's 233.83. All right, let's go through some single stock charts. Of course, this is nice to see from Google. Especially nice for me. I have a position in the TTG trend portfolio. Really nice move up. I mean, up 9%, closed very close to the highs of the session. That's a heck of a move for Google. We heard it. You've heard about Google being, out of the bigger stocks, the Mag 7 names, like the cheapest in terms of valuation. Well, I guess it's kind of a big catch up here. I mean, that's an aggressive move, up 9%. And I just added this to the TTG trend portfolio a couple weeks back. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I think I added it. So again, if you thought like, oh my God, you missed the whole move from the lows, please be careful with folks that are doing this on Twitter, right? They try to say something like, well, in April, I said to go long, or, I made a good call back in April. That's not going to help anybody right now to say that you thought that the lows were in April. Keep your eyes on the road ahead and where you think stocks are going forward. Right. I give you a great clap if you got the lows somewhere where you went long in April or May. That's great. right? But we've got to keep you got to keep going, right? And if you want to keep doing victory laps all you want about where you got long in April or May, or hey, I got long Google in May or something like that. Again, that's great. I applaud you, but you got to think about who are going to be what's going on going forward, who is going to be the market leaders going forward, right? Because it changes hands a lot, right? On a year-to-year basis, sometimes names can do something really great and where they're leaders for a long time. Apple made a nice move, and they're talking about how they're not going to be using OpenAI's AI. They're going to be, I guess, there's a headline that came out right around the close today for Apple, which mentioned that Apple plans AI-powered web search tool for Siri to rival OpenAI. So a little bit of context, reminder that they have their event day. I think that's next week, is it? Let me see if I can bring this up. Sorry, I'm just on a different screen here, but I would rather get you the accurate information about when their date is. I believe that's 9/9. Right. So what is that, Tuesday? I'm so bad with dates. That is Tuesday of next week. That is their event, and Apple could be just possibly continuing to rally into that event. Remember, one of the biggest traditions on Wall Street is buy the rumor, sell the news. All right, so those kind of powered moves today. Tesla was a little bit of a tease today. Tesla had a bounce today. It was kind of all over the place, but it stopped right at the bottom of its value area for the week. So you're going to see that in just a second. The level to watch short term is going to be this 340, or call it 341. So you had a nice rally, VPOC reversal off of this, but really kind of sat back a little bit too far for me. I was long some Tesla in my trading account, and I actually got out of it. I had taken some profits last week, I believe, on the highs, and just decided to kind of get out of it today, and I'll reassess. Again, I want to be careful about how many positions I'm holding. I don't need every trade to work at this point. So let's move on, because I want to go through a few more positions with you guys. Let me just rearrange my screen here a little bit. What do I want to? So yesterday I talked about, I believe in yesterday's video, I talked about roadblocks. So here's a good example. Again, I try to practice what I preach. In the beginning of this video, I talked about, trying to hit, looking for some trades point A to point B, right? So basically what I did is I took profits today right around this top of the value area, and I left a small portion of the trade on to see if it could power through that, right? But a lot of congestion up here, in here. So again, this was a nice, like, I put this trade on towards the end of the day yesterday, up 4% today. Hey, that's great. And that's my goal for September. Again, is just to be kind of like, putting the ball in play, getting to first base, maybe a double. That would be great. But I'm not expecting home runs for this month. Right. And that's basically how I'm going to trade. Case in point, remember I went over in yesterday's video, like, I went over a couple stocks that had that started with R. The other one that I went over is Rocket Labs. Look at what happened to Rocket Labs today, down 11.7% today. Now, I consider this a small win because I did not go long this name, but I looked at it, and I looked at it a couple times. Notice where it stalled, right where it stalled last month. Now, last month I traded it up to here, and I did the same thing because I just don't. I think that the aerospace and defense group is a little bit tired, and I've said that now for the last couple weeks. So when I traded this last week, I took profits right at the top of the value area, similar to what to what I did in Roblox, RBLX, right? So that's what, and again, like, this is a big rejection. I mean, it's one thing to get rejected and go down like a few percent. It's down 11.7% today, right? So that is why I think that you have to be mindful of some of these rotations and understanding when names have lost a little bit of that market leadership. Next name that I wanted to cover, a Firm, right? Firm had this big move up, right? This was like a no chase type candle, but look at it settle back down here. I thought it might settle all the way back to this top of the value area, which is right around 72, 72.80. It didn't get that far, but what it's doing is it's kind of tracking above that 5-day moving average. This is a better spot. If you like this name, if you think people are going to be using a lot of buy now, pay later in this environment, this is not bad. Let's go to the next name that I have, which is Robinhood. I did take a long position in this, but I will be out of this if this cannot hold in here, because this is also looking like a possible head and shoulders pattern, left shoulder, head, right. So it's right around this bottom of the value area. I gave it another chance to see if it's going to hold in here. We probably have some announcements coming at the end of this week, I think, for possibility of being added to the S&P. So I would be very mindful of this. I got out of Robinhood in my trading account a few weeks ago. I'm just trying it here on the dip, but it didn't give me what I'm looking for. So watch this 101.93 level. That's something to pay attention to for tomorrow. Solar names, which I went over in yesterday's video. Look at First Solar again. So talk about just a little bit of rotation in this tape, right? This is a nice look here, settled back in here, right, to the 25-day and 20-day moving average. Nice reversal ball yesterday and nice follow through. I remain long, which again is a riskier play. DQ, which is a solar name for China. Again, what I like about this is the weekly chart, just in case you didn't see this video yesterday where I detailed this. But look at the weekly chart in this, right? So very simple. Long versus the top of the yearly value area. And let's see if it can start to break out of this base. Let's talk a little bit about gold and gold miners. So first of all, I was long FNV today. I decided to take some profits. Yeah, it's a little bit extended up here, right? And it's also a little bit of a bearish RSI divergence. It's made a new high, but the RSI has not. That's fine. I'll take my profits from the other day and kind of move on. Not huge profits, but in any event, same. That's what I'm looking for in terms of, understanding that I don't need to get huge profits on every trade. Here's gold. I actually want to use gold futures here for a minute. Let's look at gold futures. I have a trend line drawn in here. So this is what gold futures look like. So they did not close on their highs today. Am I saying that they go right back down here? No, but they are extended here. So you may be looking for an entry into gold. And I think what was nice is I was reading Helene Meisler's column. She's a great follow on Twitter. And she was talking about the daily sentiment index is about an 88 coming into today in gold. So let this thing kind of cool off a little bit. Maybe it checks back into this breakout level. That would be a great place. Maybe cools off in sentiment, and 5-day moving average kind of catches up a little bit. That's what I would be looking for gold, and I'll be happy to add back some of the targets that I've taken in this trade. I mentioned interest rates, right? TLT had a big day today. I would keep an eye on this rocket companies. This should trigger the bullish 80% rule. Right now, it's got to get through that 20-day moving average, but nice reversal yesterday, follow through today, and let's see if it could stay into 1748. Again, what would I be looking for this? Probably just to move to the top of the value area, which again, that's about a 6 or 7% move today. Not today, but further to go up. Open. Remember, I talked about open door technologies with this with the VPOC being taken out. Sorry, let me just make sure I keep this on, right? And I mentioned that this would be a good place to take some profits. And then I mentioned on Twitter that if you really like the name, if you took some profits here, you could kind of add back in here. Look at it right back up here, right? So again, that helped a little bit, I think, in terms of saying, hey, this VPOC give you a great place to take some profits using the MarketWebs volume at price system. And that was up at 550. Stock came all the way to, was down about 15%. All right, right after that, a couple of days after that, VPOC was taken out. BE, one other name this is tough because it's extended, but I still see I don't think I saw today, but over the last couple of days, I've seen a lot of call buying in this name. I was able to take a target today, small target today. I started a position in here. I added to it yesterday, and then being that I added a little bit larger to the position on the dip yesterday, I was able to take a target today. One last name that I'll end with here in this video is AFRM. Also did beautifully for me. I added, as I talked about in yesterday's video, I got lucky with this one. Now, not every trade that I've done has been lucky, because I got rid of CLS yesterday, probably right around the lows of the day yesterday. Not a good move. But this one, at least, I added right around the lows of the day. That was right around like 554. And I was able to take a target today. And by the way, I'm out of the majority of this position. But where did I get? Where did I take that target? And 494. Yes. So I added to my position yesterday, 454, and took some profits at 494 today. I'll take that any day of the week. And I'm just sitting with like the last 10% of the position, and will stay in there as long as price stays above this 5-period moving average. Also note it's above the value area for the month of September, showing relative strength. Thanks very much for watching the video. If you like, if you like what you heard, or if these videos help you, please do me a favor and just like the tweet or the video on YouTube, retweet. I appreciate that.